one photo you can never take, there's only one photography experience you won't ever have. Photography is the thrill of capturing something new, a fleeting moment, immortalized forever. It's the hunt for another, or perfecting what we've already captured. But what we don't know, it's our next shot. And I think that's the fun of it, at least for me. The pursuit of another memory, another experience, another snapshot in time, that's what keeps us motivated, what keeps me motivated to keep shooting. Sure, in the business world, it's fun to make some money and to find a way to commoditize your hobby, but really the money is just so that we can keep shooting. Photography is the tool we use to express ourselves and make sense of the world around us, and it's one of the few hobbies turned career that I can think of that aren't limited by any healthy and able bodies like so many athletes. I used to be terrified of my stiff wrists and hyper-focusing on the future and if I'd be able to retouch or shoot like when I was 20, but nowadays my camera's on a tripod 90% of the time and I use retouchers, so there's always a workaround. I'll actually link a Guardian article down below that you can check out after this video. It's on blind photographers, really cool. There shouldn't be any limits to your creativity. Does having a perfect photo in your portfolio really define you as a photographer? Or are we stuck in this subjective world where there's no rules, but somehow there's still some art that's more successful than others? I do want to try to answer those questions today and figure out what's really important. I grew up the youngest of a hardworking, tunnel-visioned family, a very structured and rigid mindset from external factors that I never really put much thought into. You don't know what you don't know, you know? I have parents that reach their lifelong goals and siblings who are academically successful, and I just figured that's the way life is. That's what's expected of me, and that's what I should do. I fooled myself all the way to a university diploma without even realizing that I never really had that intention. My intention to stare at my future and know exactly where I was heading. Sorry, Mom. But that's the stability mindset that my family had, and I thought that's what people do. I wasn't aware of other career paths, especially in entertainment. I didn't know that was a possibility. That was always something that was just destined for people who are born into it or people who are given everything in life. It's not until you grow up a little that you realize that, yeah, okay, sure, some people have more opportunities handed to them than others, but it doesn't mean that it's exclusively for them. It doesn't mean that with a lot of hard work and maybe a whole little bit of luck, you can't achieve something for yourself that isn't necessarily following the footprints of those around you. What I was getting at before is that the rigid structure of a job in science, or even just the job for the same company for 37 years, Dad, that life of stability really sounds like a prison sentence to me, knowing exactly what I'm gonna be doing for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Sounds like a nightmare, not a dream. I don't know, maybe some of you feel the same, maybe some of you are watching this right now and thinking I'm crazy, but not knowing where my next paycheck is coming from is actually the reason I found any bit of success in this industry. If you're in the same boat, I want you to lean into that uncertainty. Lean into that feeling of not knowing. That's the norm in this industry. Look, I'm a healthy Canadian, white, 31-year-old man with no responsibilities but a puppy. So life could be a lot more complicated. My privilege is not unnoticed, but I know that as humans, our collective instinct is just to survive. It's to make it work. If you're hungry and rent's due, your mind's gonna come up with something. Especially as professional creatives, that's literally what we do. We think outside the box, we look at the same problem over and over again from a different perspective. It's not just in photography, it shows up in life too. You'll be setting up school board interviews to photograph every class graduation for the next semester. You'll do $100 headshots for every paralegal in your city. You'll do something. How much do you value your headspace? Sure, I live in this house and I live in this city and I even live in this country, but really, like, I live in my head. Maybe a little bit more than most, but I want this brain to be happy. I'd rather make ends meet doing what I love than sacrifice my mental wealth for a couple extra bucks. Next week, I'm working on a video for you guys with 7 unconventional ways to make money in photography so that you don't have to be that broke photographer. But I just want to get back to that question. What are we really trying to get out of this thing we call photography? If it's a career, well, what does a career entail? It's an exchange of goods for a service. And in this case, you get to fall in love with that service. I didn't really understand these things for myself growing up, but as I was slowly getting into adulthood, it was clear to me that the structure and rigidity and stability just wasn't for me. It's not that you can't find stability in this job, but I would say that it's taken me about 8-ish years since starting this career path to find any bit of stability. And the stability mostly just comes from the constant hard work and from the constant marketing to expand your reach and your network. You have to trust your process, like really trust that process. You don't need 300 clients a year, or you need 12 that book you once a year, or 25 that book you every 2 years. It's much easier to build good rapport and to build lasting business relationships than trying to find a new client all the time. Instead, book a new client and think of them as a member of your career's family. And in that vein, maybe even consider who you take on as a client. Consider that your customers are a beacon of the advertising for your service. There is something to be said about advertising through doing, not just telling people you do things, you know? Think of your income not as a bi-weekly thing, but as a year-long or even career-long thing. If you're serious about this career, it shouldn't matter if you have a bad week or not. Think same here on YouTube. I try not to mind too much about the performance of each video because I know I'm gonna be here for the next 10 years. So just on to the next one. So why choose photography as a career? Why commoditize your hobby? Well, for one, it lets you manage your own time, for better or worse. It can bring you 7 mornings out of 7 without an alarm if that's what you want, though I would recommend setting one. It can bring you the ability to schedule work at 10 p.m. or to go chase sunrises if that's what you like. Side note, I have this problem deeply ingrained in my own personal personality that only allows me to do things that I really want to do at that specific time. I'm never going to do something unless I really want to do it, which honestly kind of sounds like a recipe for a fun life, but also probably not as productive as you can imagine. I've been fortunate enough to find photography at a young enough age that allowed me a reason to obsess over something that could also potentially lead to some income down the road. Not doing this to get rich, I'm just doing it so that I can keep doing it. I would definitely classify myself as a workaholic, but like I said, I never do something I don't want to do. So my days have that Groundhog Day feel to them. I know what I like and I just do it over and over again. I'm very orderly and methodical with my time. I'm always doing something, and if it's time that I've allowed myself to take off, I probably scheduled that in too. But it works for me, and even if I have a seemingly rigid schedule like I never really wanted, it's all blocks of things that I really want to do, and I'm excited to work on them. Maybe one day that'll change with a constant pursuit for the next photo and the thrill of not knowing what I'm gonna get. But in every aspect of my life, I obsess over it. I try to be very selective with what I let in because I know that it's gonna be all encompassing for me. And that borderline mental disorder is kind of what you need to have the drive to work in this field. It's not about being better than everyone, but I will say that it's about outlasting them. So many friends and peers and people I met who are photographers just give it up after 2, 3, 4 years, at least professionally. It's hard. If you're looking at this like, is it profitable and can it replace my job? Well, you have to consider your first 4 years kind of like your bachelor's degree, and you'll probably need 8 to 10 for your full doctorate so that you can make as much money as you're currently making. So you better start putting your days in. Good luck, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Peace. Okay, I'm a healthy Canadian, white, 31-year-old man with no responsibilities but a puppy. Life could be a lot more privileged. Life could be, oh no, it's not, actually.